There's so much emphasis now in the market, and clients understand to a point that you need SEO, right? And they're like, yeah, we got to rank, we got to rank, we got to rank. Guess what, right? You got to have the reviews. It doesn't matter. Like if you show up on the first page and people look you up and you don't have reviews.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no-bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey guys, it's Joe Troyer, and welcome to another episode of Show Me Tim's Nuggets. No, I'm just kidding. Show me Joe Troyer's Nuggets. I mean, show me the Nuggets. Guys, I'm excited to be here with longtime client and friend, none other than Tim McGarvey. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Joe. I am so happy to be here. I cannot wait to dig into reputation marketing.
So, man, you and I go way back, way back, and you've been around a long time, and I'm super excited to have you on the show because I know the impact and the value that you give to your clients, and I know the aha moments and the nuggets that you can share with the audience, man. So when we were thinking about guests that we wanted to have come on and really talk about reputation, I was like, hey, we need to reach out to Tim. So super excited to have you on here, man.
Oh, thank you.
So, Tim, let's jump back and talk about how you ended up getting in this crazy agency marketing world as we know it today.
Yeah. It's an interesting question to think about, to go all the way back. I came to New York City. I went to art school. I studied graphic design, came to New York City in the late 80s. And I was hauling my portfolio around in Soho and Chelsea looking for freelance work. And at the time I was living in Philly and I was commuting back and forth every day. And I started picking up freelance jobs. And then, the whole commute on Amtrak and everything was just too much. So I decided to move here. So I moved to Manhattan, started doing illustration and design work. And we're going back to the age of the modem. Right? So the modem was brand new and it was exciting. And I moved into an apartment right on top of the fastest internet in Manhattan on the west side. So I was sitting on top of it and just my dial-up modem was so crazy fast. HTML was the thing, was brand new. I was building websites. And, there wasn't even any way to preview them except for the browser. This was before Dreamweaver. Photoshop was new. Illustrator was new.
Front page.
Yes, right. That's it. Exactly. I went back and I looked that up today, just thinking about that. Wow, it seems like not that long ago, but, it was. And having to wait for those blinking lights on AOL to connect. Yep, right. That's it. So, that would have been like, I guess, like the early 90s or, publishing these websites in HTML. WordPress came out, I don't know, like a couple of years later. So WordPress was new. Now, instead of doing everything by hand, everything was digital. Illustrator, Photoshop, After Effects came out in there. WordPress came out. So it was a very exciting time, all these digital tools. And somewhere in there, I don't know if it was 2000, what year it was, but Google Ads came out. And I remember seeing like these weird little things on the right side of the screen. And they just started popping up. And I was like, what is that? What's like a Google ad? And I had started doing work for medical agencies, doing medical animation and medical illustration. And I didn't really know anything. I was completely ignorant about the ads. And I said, I'm just going to buy an ad. So I bought an ad for a couple $100. And in less than a week, I landed a job for like $150,000. That's it. How did I get started? That's it. Because I did it. I ran an ad. I didn't even know what it was. I just ran a simple ad. Somebody called me on the phone with an unbelievable job. And so that's been my experience with digital marketing. That's how I got started.
I'm curious, when you think about reputation marketing, like what do you think about? What does that mean to you? When I say those words, reputation management or reputation marketing, what's that mean?
Well, look, there's like two sides to it. There's the technical part of this, like how do we do it? And there's the other part of it, like what the heck is it, right? And what's really interesting is in the last several years, I've had several people reach out to me, like recognizable names, and say like, we need help. We looked you up online. We found like you in like reputation marketing, right? Like, so we need help with our reputation. And so they like literally mean their personality, their reputation. And so that's kind of something that when we talk about like the technical part of reputation, right, we kind of skip over that. But this is about like the effect.
For sure.
That gets generated. And, lots of times clients say, well, I know all about reputation marketing. But when I look up that person, I find all kinds of bizarre stuff. I find divorce things, I find legal things. I'm like, they're not really like looking for themselves. They're like, well, I know all about it, but like, I found like court filings from 10 years ago and like, this is some ugly stuff, right? So that's as far as the concept of what it is. It's really controlling what people find about you online first. Right? If you got bad stuff, they're gonna find bad stuff, maybe eventually. But what do they see first, and what impact does that have? And really, for a business, right, we want what people to find first are the fantastic results that our clients and our businesses provide to their customers that transforms their lives, right?
Sure. 100%.
That's it. And every client that I've ever had, that's what they say that they want to do. No one's ever said, I kind of want to do an okay job. They're like, no. When you really talk to them, they say, like, no, the services that we offer, what we do, change people's lives. Great. Those are the stories. That's what we want people to find. We want to help business owners create a story that attracts people to the business, and it generates more income, right? It's that system. It's that loop, right? And when we get that loop working, everything else works. So when I think about it, sorry, I'm going on here, but when I think about reputation, like that's what I think about, the big picture, how it transforms. And then there's the technical part of it, which is usually what people talk about. When you hear the phrase reputation marketing, right, it usually means about how to get reviews, like how to manage it, how to market it, how to syndicate it, or whatever. It's usually like three parts to that. I go like, I'm thinking like bigger concept.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I say, and I agree with you. I think like for me, when I first think about it, it's like let's control the narrative about a brand when a consumer looks it up, right? Like you as a business owner have that opportunity, and as an agency owner, like we have the opportunity to help businesses portray that message however we want, right? To guide that message, right? We can't say get it down to the exact detail, but we can help guide that message and shape that message, and that's a beautiful thing. When I think about kind of then the next kind of order of consequence, I think about like, I want to be the brand, or I want my clients to be the brand that's like the undisputed best in that marketplace. Because if I can, my marketing doesn't have to be so great, and my clients don't have to spend near as much money to get the same outcome, right, as well. Can you talk about your experience or your thoughts with that?
At the core of helping clients, like generating thousands of calls, literally thousands of calls from Google Maps, and with their reputation together, help clients generate from negative, losing their house, losing their car, losing all their property, physical property, right, to generating, 7 figures. And to explain it like it's so simple, and you're like, well, yeah, that's obvious, but it's not. Because then when you talk to the business owner about it, like there are all kinds of barriers, and it's not that easy. And like to have that conversation. But when you can change it and you can control it, and you have the right reviews, you have the right information and the right message that goes out, right? It's the most powerful thing. When you have, and it makes everything else work. When you have the reputation kicking and it's firing on all cylinders, and you look up the business, and the first page that comes up is everything that you want on there, right? You have your reviews on Facebook, you have everything on Twitter, you have YouTube, you have the knowledge panel. All of the indications that you see is that this business is the industry leader. Everything works. You put pay-per-click on top of that, pay-per-click works, right? You want to go over and you want to run, Facebook, video ads, you want to do retargeting, like that all works. Yeah. However, without it, and you start running pay-per-click ads, the ads are crazy, insanely expensive.
For sure.
Right? Like it's through the roof, right? Yep. You can get, 10 or 20 leads, sometimes for a couple grand a month with pay-per-click. When you have reputation and everything else is flowing, pay-per-click is cheaper. Everything's cheaper, and there's less stress on the business, right? And that's one thing that I see for sure as a marketer, that I want to put my clients in a situation where it's less stressful for me and it's less stressful for them as far as like their expense. So I want them to see that like the return that they're getting, the cost per call for someone calling them is a fraction of, it's a fraction of what they have been paying or what they expect to pay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Reputation is a magnifier for sure. It's a multiplier, force multiplier, if you will. And if you can build that reputation, it's going to impact, everything else. I think a great example of that is, and I'm going to ask you, because you've had so much experience ranking in Google Maps. Have you been able to rank in Google Maps without reviews and then been able to add reviews? And what's the correlation or the impact of ranking in the 3-pack with reviews or without reviews in your experience?
Well, I mean, it depends on the competition, really. It depends on what everybody else is doing. It also largely depends on the size of the market, right? The bigger the market is, right, the more factors weigh in on the maps. If we're talking about a general population for an industry that's immediately recognizable, like something in home services, roofing, HVAC, water damage. I'm heavily into weight loss, chiropractic, all of these things you immediately recognize like this. If it's in a town of 100,000 or less, right?
Yep.
The reviews don't necessarily affect the 3-pack ranking. But I'm going to say, like, in the markets where clients are making 7 figures, right, it's a lot more competitive. You just have to have it. It's not even like, can I get in there without it? No, you can't. You got to have it. It's mandatory. It's like one of the top 3 signals, I would say, that like to get in there and stay in there.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I've seen personally with some sites helping clients that like I've been able to get in the 3-pack, right? But if they didn't have reviews, and it used to be a strategy that I didn't really help people with, if they didn't have the reviews to back it up, I could get them in the 3-pack, but it would be really hard for me to be able to stay in the 3-pack. But also they wouldn't actually get that many leads if they weren't dominant in terms of their reputation, right? If they have the least amount of reviews and the worst overall score, just because you get there doesn't mean that all of a sudden, the phone calls are just going to start ringing off the hook.
Right. Right. There's so much emphasis now in the market, and clients understand to a point that you need SEO.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, yeah, we got to rank. Guess what? Right. You got to have the reviews. It doesn't matter. Like if you show up on the first page and people look you up and you don't have reviews, I guess we'll get into this, but not just any reviews.
For sure.
I like this guy. No. Like great office, like, I come here all the time. No, 5 stars. No, we're not talking about that, right?
Yeah.
So like SEO isn't going to save you if you're really in an area where you want to make a good living, right? It's not going to save you. It's a combination of things, and you got to start with a reputation. Now, I don't have any indication necessarily that SEO is easier because you have great reviews, but it's certainly. What's that?
I believe it is.
Really?
I think that the click-through rate manipulation, we'll call it, whether your count of reviews is a factor, or your click-through rate being manipulated because you have better reviews than everybody else. One of those is a factor, right? And if I have more reviews and I'm in the 4th spot, I'll end up climbing to the top 3 just because I have better reviews than the people in the first 3, right? And it doesn't mean I'll always be number 1, but I will outrank and I'll hedge myself into the 3-pack just with more reviews.
So we've done a lot of testing, and I can say like definitely that genuine reviews from real customers has crazy weight.
For sure.
So with the business, like to radically change them, it only takes about 10 legitimate reviews. Could only, and sometimes 6. I have seen some clients outrank businesses that have like 100 reviews. So, and I guess there are other factors like involved in that as well. It's not that easy, and it's certainly not something that I ever like promise anybody. Like if you got 10 reviews and like your stars are going to change. No, but it's a really good thing.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
So when you talk with a client that has a bad reputation, are you going to try to fix the reputation first? Are you going to sell them on a whole marketing pack with that first? Tell me how you think about working with a client that either has a bad reputation or just not much of a reputation, right? In the industry, that they ain't looking good no matter what. Either it's bad or they just aren't even being noticed.
All right. Well, I see them as 2 distinct. Like we're going to separate them for just a minute, because I have a lot of opinions and a lot of like specific experience with no reviews and bad reviews. So I would say that having a reputation system like changes 3 things for a business. Well, it changes 3 things. It changes things for the business owner, for the people in the business, and for their customers, right? And so we're usually just focused on like what we see at like a surface level and what that is. But when we have like the reputation that's actually like firing and it's actually working for a business, the business owner is starting to see the good reviews that come in, right? And that changes the experience for the business owner too. And it kind of in some way like reinforces what they already know. Same as for the people in the business when the reviews come in and people are commenting on the staff. Hey, like, you know, the staff is really great. I like everything that's like happening at the front desk. Yeah. And customers see this as well. And so it affects all 3 of those things. Now, when the business has like bad reviews, right, and the business owner doesn't necessarily know, right, that's an indication that the business owner is disconnected from the business in some way. And when I deal with a business that has bad reviews in that situation, I used to seek them out. I don't seek them out anymore. Somebody has bad reviews, like they need to ask me to help them.
Gotcha.
Right. And it wasn't that way before. I did just exclusively look for people with bad reviews. But what I just said about the business owner being disconnected in some way from the business, or there's a significant problem in the business that's generating those bad reviews, right? And it's usually kind of both of those things. Sometimes the business owner knows, but they're also getting hammered all the time, every day.
Yep.
Because I have all the sites for clients, and occasionally clients do get bad reviews, and I see what happens. Like name brand companies and every other marketing consultant is all over this, hammering them with emails about the bad review. So the only way that the business owner doesn't know that what's happening with that is if they're not connected with the email and the communication in their business.
Yep. I agree.
They're outside of that. So as a consultant coming in to help them with their reviews, the first thing we have to do is we got to get everybody connected, right? Yep. So we have to connect everybody so that when they get a bad review, that everyone knows, and then understand like what's happening in the business. And then the majority of time that there's bad reviews, right, there is some sort of disparity between the business owner and the people in the business. So that's a quagmire to get into, to understand what's happening. and to try to fix that. Now, I had a couple of clients like early on that I pursued that had bad reviews. And I was really surprised about how much information that I learned and how I was able to help the businesses. An example of that would be, I found I'm trying to be very general. I don't know who would listen to the call, but I did find a business that had, an onslaught of really bad reviews. And I thought, well, let me reach out to them. So the business owner did reply, sent him a postcard, I did hear back. And so we started working together to investigate, how do we create a review system and the whole thing and what's going on. And I took all of their reviews and just copied them and I pasted them into a word cloud. Just to understand from a really high level. So what's the summary that's going on here? And words that popped out were drug abuse, alcoholism, and racism. So those were the words that were emphasized and they were mentioned the most. Like, what the heck? Like, how's that possible? So I remember I went back and I said, hey, so we did, did this whole analysis and found something interesting from this word cloud. They said that can't be possible. We're a family company. This is so offensive. We're done. All right, ended. Okay, not a client anymore. A couple months later, I got an email, still not a client. I got an email from the owner saying, turns out one of our VPs had a series of problems. And we flushed that out just by the review system, looking at all the reviews, multi-million-dollar company, and all of their reviews and everything in the company turned around. So as far as how powerful it is and how significant it is, for me, that was a turnaround for me where I said, well, I think I've kind of underestimated this a little bit as far as how powerful this is when we put this into play. We put this into play, stuff that's going to come out, we may not, no one may really expect it. Some things may be new, it could be new information, or it may not be. There was someone else that asked for an audit of their business, and I did the same thing. And I went in and I didn't know anyone in the business, did the same whole thing with their reviews and all of it. And I said, a wild guess, but I think that somebody you have working for you is really depressed. And because I see all of this and there seems to be communication with patients that isn't positive. They did. So they had somebody that was answering their phone that was struggling with depression, and they had struggled with depression a long time. Just said, look, looks like you guys, maybe you need to make a change on who's answering your phone. And simply by making a change on who's answering their phone, reviews improved and the business came back to life. And that was from one person. So both of these were from one person. Now, and people in the business knew, but they weren't able to say for whatever reason. People couldn't say hey, woman that we have on the phone is clinically depressed, and struggling with all this. We need to get her off the phone. So from the outside came in and said, hey, this is what I see. And seems kind of crazy, but here it is. I think somebody needs help. They did. So they made that change. And I'm so this is really powerful. And it goes beyond just getting 10 5-star reviews to put on Google.
It's the underlying issues, right? That if you don't fix them, aren't really going to get the client the end result. And that's one of the things I really like about you, Tim, is that it's all about how do I get my client that end result, right? Whether it's getting them the 10 reviews or it's figuring out the problem that's going to make them, get 10 reviews very quickly because you help them identify and spot and fix an internal issue.
That's not fun. Those meetings weren't fun. You realize that people need jobs and whatever was going on, and just that tension, especially with the first client, and it ended that day. And I got that email, but I've never spoken to them again. And I thought we were going to do something really great. We did do something good that turned things around, but it just didn't involve me.
Yeah.
But honestly, big picture, I'm okay with that. To go in and see that, for me, that says all right, I can help people, and I can help them in ways that I wasn't really thinking before, but I do think now. And so when I go into a business now, absolutely. I look for those things. And are there signs that people here in positions of influence, like sending emails or answering the phone? Like, how are they? What's their mindset? Are they like, are they positive?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Like solving the problem behind the problem. And then, you said to recap before that, making sure that the people that are supposed to be getting the messaging, are the people that are supposed to be seeing the reviews, whoever the management is, whoever the owners are, that they're no longer disconnected, that they're seeing what's happening so that their eyes are open to it. What do you think are the other, kind of biggest things you see businesses and even agencies, right, doing wrong or you think incorrectly when it comes to reputation?
Sure, right. Because of like the number of sites and the number of emails that come in, like I do see, I see all the communication, like the calls. If I review the calls, like I hear the calls, but mostly like see all the emails, and a lot of them are like exactly. They're not quite carbon copy, although some of them are, but a lot of them have some of the same things like in common. And I don't want to be like too specific, kind of in a way, but I'll just say that I take it personally as far as like establishing relationships with clients based on integrity, right? Who I am, right? I am not a video editor that has a team that has open spots of production this week. It's not who I am.
So you're not going to say that, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not going to say that. Like, who am I and what do I do? Right?
You're not going to outreach posture.
No, and so I understand making a quick sale. I understand making a fast sale, but there's this whole idea that like to be successful as an agency and to get clients, that we need to get 100 clients, right? Okay. And we need to like, how are we going to do that? We need to get 100 clients, and part of that is like let's just roll this out and start selling these videos. And quite a few clients or prospects that I talk to have bought all this stuff, right? And clients are not all idiots forever, right? They educate themselves.
I like that last part, forever.
Forever. They educate themselves. When they get that review and that review video shows up on YouTube and it has 32 reviews, you know who 30 of those views are?
Yeah.
It's a client sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
And when the video ends, like what happens? This is shocking to me. Like what happens when the video ends? Guess what plays next? A video just like it for a dentist.
Yeah.
Right. And so what does the business owner think then? And I've had them ask me, like, what is this? Like, well, what is that? And I know what that is. I'm like, well, that's not a great idea. Right. So, and it's not done by someone that fully understands like how you solve that problem. Right. They just simply didn't make a channel and put that video in a channel with all their other stuff and title it properly and put in 15 minutes of work so that when the video is done playing, it doesn't jump to that same spokesperson model on another video. Or they just haven't really thought about what's my customer experience, right? So what is the customer experience? So from the get-go, reaching out and contacting people, right? I'm Tim at timmcgarvey.com.
Yep.
When you look up Tim at timmcgarvey.com, guess who you find? That's me.
Yep.
And that's my email. Or it's some variation of that. But when you look that up, like you find me, and what do? I help businesses with their reputation. And what am I emailing you about? I'm emailing you about XYZ services or whatever that is. So there's some consistency there. And as far as like looking up, the fly by night, like these agencies that pop up, it really feels like we're just trying it out. There's not a commitment, right? Like commit to it. Like you're going to like reach out to one of my clients about commercial, right? At least represent yourself as a video production company, if that's what you're going to do. My background's in video production, right? So when I read it, it says like, we have our crew out. I'm like, you don't have a crew out, right? This is all, I know what it is, right? So, and the business owner, some of them know what it is too. Not at first, but eventually they do. And so we have to start out with the idea that as we work with clients and as we go along, they're going to educate themselves and they're going to get much smarter. And that if we do things that are inconsistent or incongruent, right, at some point, they're either going to come back and ask us about it, or then at the very least, they're going to think a little less of us and they're not going to trust us as much.
Just always going out with a marketing angle, right? Isn't the way to do things, right? People are going to see through it, either today or tomorrow.
Right. And even for like for the marketer, right? Being compassionate on both sides. For the marketer that's trying to get those 100 clients to pay them X amount of dollars so they can do, X, Y, and Z. Even for that person saying like, what a miserable way to spend all your time where every month or two, like you're changing the niche and what you're doing, changing the service that you're offering, and just constantly spinning and wondering like, how come I'm not getting traction? How come like the business isn't growing and people aren't responding to me? I mean, that's a miserable existence. You say like, this is what I do and this is who I am, and come find me. I'm on LinkedIn, come and find me. Right. And someone messages me on LinkedIn, I respond.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So to take the time and to be a real person.
100%. So as we were preparing for this podcast, one of the things you suggested would be worthwhile to chat about was discussing selling reputation and the problem with quote unquote easy reputation sales. Do you think we hit the nail on that one, or did you have a different approach in mind?
No, I mean, I think like, I kind of think that we did. And just like to summarize that is like, clients will take the easy sale, and you can make, the easy sale, but it's a short sale for yourself in the long run because the clients don't care, right? You give them this stuff for $100 or whatever. And when it doesn't work and it doesn't help them with their business, they simply say like, we thought it was going to help us get business, but it didn't. So it's just over. So there's no conversation. They don't care who you are, and they're not going to buy other stuff from you, or it's going to be really hard because they're going to think, is this like those videos we paid that whole for that block of videos? Is this going to be like that? It's going to be something different.
Yeah. Leave a good first impression, right? Leave a good taste in their mouth. There's lots of things like that. Like at the end of the day, if you're not getting the client whatever it is that they're expecting, how are you going to build a stable business on that?
It's just 100%. One of the common things that I hear from clients when I talk to them about reviews is that clients say like, our customers just won't leave us reviews.
Yep.
So when I hear somebody say that, for me, that's like an immediate, we're going from driving 35 down to 5 miles an hour. We got to slow this down.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when a business owner says our customers just won't leave us reviews, or we've asked them and they won't leave us reviews, that's a huge problem. And the reason it's a problem is because the reason that no one's writing reviews or they won't leave them reviews is because their business, their life, or whatever it is, isn't getting changed. It's not being transformed. And when a business is doing transformative work, people can't wait to leave reviews.
For sure.
Right? I mean, so it's a huge thing when somebody says like, we can't get reviews. So we can't get reviews because the business isn't serving its customers. And this is a huge issue. So lots of people dismiss the reputation, or they try all these other surface things that don't really address changes that have to be made in the business.
Yeah. I think a lot of people though too, like they say like, oh, we've tried that. Our customers won't leave reviews, but like there's a big difference in how you ask, right? And we all have been asked something where we feel compelled to help somebody. We've all been asked something where we're like, yeah, I'm not doing that, right? Like,
yes.
And so I think that there's a lot of, you have somebody come to your house and they do a service for you and they tell you like, hey, I really need your help, it just became apparent to me that we're really struggling with our Google reviews. And, if I did an okay job for you, it would mean the world to me if you take 2 minutes and just leave a Google review, because my marketing team is telling me that it's really going to help us get busier. And we're really struggling right now. That is very different than, hey, will you leave us a review?
It is. And especially if when the team was on site and they were working, they understood we need to figure out how to do 115%. We have to go over the top, right? Not just finish the job and do an okay job. We got to do a great job, right? And that opens, because they actually did do something extraordinary, right? Yep. And I've been asked to write reviews. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, like it was fine, but like it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Right. But when someone does way exceed my expectations, and if they ask me for a review, heck yeah, I'm going to write them a review. It's going to be great, because they clearly.
How hard is it today? How hard is it in today's day and age to meet expectations, though, or to beat expectations? You show up on time, you do what you say you're going to do, you clean up after yourself, you say please and thank you, you make it a nice experience, and you ask, right, with conviction for a review, you're going to get a good review. I mean,
right, if you do that. Yes.
So, yeah, completely agree with you, though. At the end of the day, lots of business being done that unfortunately isn't being done with integrity. And I think we can leave it at that.
Yeah. So as far as like the question about like the easy reviews or getting it, that's definitely it. If people aren't leaving reviews, it's because something's missing. I just have to figure out like, what is that? I work with a lot of medical practices, and it's very simple to solve. And that's usually just simply about listening, asking and listening, right? Just interjecting a few things. How are you doing? How are things going? And there's the back and forth. It doesn't always have to be with the doctor.
No,
it's usually with support staff. So that when people come in, there's eye contact, and there's a moment to have a conversation, and they feel known and remembered. That's it.
For sure. Remember somebody's name, addressing them. How are you today? Being friendly.
You're a person. Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. I know it sounds really basic when we talk about it, even like post-pandemic now, right? People are looking for connection, really, really looking for some kind of like connection and a moment of, I remember you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, man, we've had a really good conversation. I want to zoom out for a second. Is there anything else important that you think we might have missed when talking about kind of reputation marketing or reputation management as a whole? Is there anything that we missed you think we'd be doing the audience a disservice, or anybody listening?
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to say yes. And that is, how do you get a good review, right? Mm-hmm. What's a good review, right? And this is what I'm going to say. And I think this is key. And when I started implementing this for clients, I saw like a significant change. So a review goes through the problem, the solution, and the results, right? And we get people to write the kind of review that we want by asking them the right questions. Right. So we have to set up some type of a survey situation, and we have to walk them through how we want them to answer. We have to ask them the questions, and then they have to answer those questions to give us that feedback. And the idea that I see with a lot of businesses, and they're like, well, we asked for a review, but like they didn't give it to us. Well, people don't know what to write. If you ask me right now to leave a review for you, I feel like I want to, and I'm like, but about like what? Like, how can I help you? Like, I want to help you, but about what? Like, what should we like? I'm lost. I've known you for so long. I'm like, I don't know. But when you ask somebody a question of like, what was happening that made you decide to schedule an appointment? Well, wait a minute. That's a condition. That's a specific, problem.
Easy.
Well, that's easy. And they're like, oh, well, that's easy. So you walk them through like 5 things. And then when they come down, now they got to write a review. They already know what to write because they just answered the questions. And like, that's like a 300 300% change from just giving somebody a card saying, would you leave us a review? You're like, hold on, we could send them to a form and they can answer those questions. And I know that seems like technical maybe, and you get it, but the majority of people that I talk to, they say like, yeah, they just don't leave us reviews. Well, how do you get a review? When do you get a review? You ask them like the first time they come in, or do you like get them the third time they come in?
Yep.
Like what's the arc? So what's the arc? Like, you got to get them at the top of the arc when they're like on top of the world, right? You got to figure out the timing. So it's not always the best when they come in and they're just leaving after they've had a root canal.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever, they've had something painful done. You don't want to ask them when they leave, right?
Yeah.
You got to figure out well, when's the right time, right? So that the problem, and especially when they talk about how things are now, they say how things are now. So then we get the problem, the solution, and the results. So when we get the reviews, you have 6 reviews where people have gone through the problem, solution, results, and they've written it in their own words. And that's the stuff that's up on Google. 6 to 10 of those can radically change a business. Instead of like, I love the office, when I come in, the people here are nice. Like, it doesn't say anything, right? But when they talk about like, when I first came in, like I was so tired, I could hardly walk up and down the stairs. I had back surgery, and after the back surgery, I gained 45 pounds.
No, for sure. The reviews that are done in a format similar to that or like that, you know, can have a huge impact on meeting the customer where they're at right now, right? When they're facing the problem that they're in now, right? And then them seeing the solution and the result after is huge for that future pacing, and ultimately is going to get a client to take action, or a prospect to take action, right? And to take that next step. And so a review isn't just a review, right? All reviews aren't created equal.
Right. I think about it like helping the business find a story to tell. We all love stories, all right? And when somebody writes a review like that goes through those steps, that's a story. And we can use that in a significant way to help the business. Like, that's a story. And that people will see that and identify with that. Yes.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad we didn't end without that. That was a nice little nugget. Thank you. So,
okay.
I think it was last year you came out with a book, Converting Clicks into Clients. Would you tell everybody a little bit about that, what it is and how they can get their hands on it?
Sure. Converting clicks into patients. So created the book as after like talking to so many clients, a lot of them mostly weight loss. That's what the book's focusing on, is weight loss. And the myths or misconceptions that seem to be out there about how to market a practice on the internet. So this it's a broad overview. It's not necessarily like a drill down blueprint of how to do all of these things, but it just presents all in one place, an easy reference for, so what do we do? How do we use email marketing? There's a big section in there on reputation, section about social and all this stuff. How do we use, what is it? How do we use it? It's on Amazon. It's also on the Clinic Marketing Group website. Either one of those places, you can get it.
Perfect, man. And in wrapping up, instead of asking my guests what their favorite 3 books are, I was like, distill it down to the smallest action for me to take.
Okay. All right.
I always ask, like, what's the one book, right, that you think's made the biggest impact on you or the way that you do business, and why?
All right. Look,
right here.
You said one.
Hey, man, one.
You said one, and I'm just going to tell you, like, it's so hard. So this isn't my one book, but I'm mentioning Work the System, but that's not my book. The book that I'm mentioning is called The Pumpkin Plan.
Yeah, we had Mike on the podcast.
The Pumpkin Plan, and there was a section that, here we are. There's one part here, page 9.
Okay.
And all I'm going to say is it says, what got you here won't get you there, right? And so the idea was that you got your business to a certain level, but what you did to get to that level isn't going to take you to the next level.
For sure.
Right? And reading the pumpkin plan, when I went through that, for me, he goes through the experience of talks about the experience of getting all of these high-end clients, spending a lot of money, and kept asking himself, how come we're not ahead? How come we're not ahead? And the long hours that he's working and working and working and working and still saying, yeah, but we're not getting ahead. So the idea in reading this book, really, is when I said, I'm done with the animation studio. I love design. I love visual work. I love doing 3D animation. It ends. And it was reading this book, and I said, my life is awful. My family life isn't great. What do I need to do? And so that's it. So if there's only one book, people listening say to read the Pumpkin Planet at least 3 times.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a fast read too. I feel like I picked that thing up and I don't think I set it down until it was over.
It is right. It's not an arduous read. He gets to the points quickly, and like you understand them. It was an easy decision, but hard to do as far as like, so what do I do next? Like after I read it, but it was the book that I read. So I was I have all these books, trying to figure out like the one book. And I'm like, all right, what book did I read? And did I make a change? I've read a lot of books and I don't make changes. I read that book and I said, that's done. I have to close the door on that, because that's not going to get me where I need to go in my life. I was sleeping in my office. So he talks in the book as well, is like he was sleeping in the office and hiring more and more people. And all these people working, and they're going home and I'm sleeping in the office. So there it is, Pumpkin Plan.
That's awesome, man. So if somebody wants to reach out to you personally, Tim, where should that be? On your website, maybe LinkedIn, Instagram? Where are you most active?
You know what? The website is easiest. I'm tim@timmcgarvey.com.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
Easy to reach.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you for dropping all your knowledge. You've been in this game for a long time, even longer, I think, than I have. You've been able to get your clients some amazing results, generate a boatload of leads and revenue for them in this industry. And I'm sure people are going to love this episode. Thank you.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in and Show Me the Nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.